Green Zone, it's Max, and we are back, and we're doing a little video here. I just made public a video about cryptocurrency and people trying to notify the public about you probably should be into Bitcoin and some nonsense about senators banning and this and that. And the video was done a couple of days ago, and I just released it. Just whatever. So anyways, I'm recording this, decided to put that one up. And this is pretty important to talk about for people and their security, their computer systems and their phone systems. Obviously, everybody knows, and the running joke, I even hear commercials about it on the radio. The person I work with in the office listens to the radio in this country station, and there's advertisements for DuckDuckGo. And they're talking about how when you just mention that you're going to buy a pair of headphones, then all you get is advertisements for headphones. And it's because everybody acknowledges that their phone is spying on them, right? Everybody acknowledges it. Like it's just whatever, it's just what happens. And it's like, you guys don't understand how far it goes. They're not just listening to your conversations. They're not just kind of snooping to try and sell you something. They're actively trying to steal all your stuff, especially your cryptocurrency. Especially your cryptocurrency, because that is the only thing that's worth something that they can't print out of nothing. Okay, we're going to take a look at an article. It actually is by the New York Times, which I think this is a public service announcement. This came out a couple of days ago, where they're talking about the software that, you know, when people think about hackers, they think about spyware and pop-ups and annoying stuff that little kids do, where you download something and it's wrapped with some kind of an app that makes porn pop up on your screen, and you got pop-ups for this and pop-ups for this. And it, you know, that's what people think about when they think about a computer virus. Well, countries have developed things that you don't have to click on anything. You don't have to do anything. As long as they know what your phone number is, they can go hack your phone. As long as they know what your IP address is, they can go hack your stuff. Okay. So we're going to take a look at this article, and we'll talk about how to fix this problem, right? In June 2019, 3 Israeli computer engineers, Mossad, arrived in New Jersey buildings used by the FBI. They unpacked dozens of computer servers, arranging them in tracks, isolated room. They set up their equipment. Essentially, this is called Pegasus, is what they're doing. The FBI bought a version of Pegasus, the NSO's premier spying tool. For nearly a decade, the Israeli firm had been selling its surveillance software on a subscription basis to law enforcement and intelligence agencies around the world, and anybody who wants to pay $700.50 a week. How does Max know this? Because I was hacked by this. I was hacked by this and lost 2/3 of my stuff. Okay? The only stuff that didn't get taken was the stuff that I had staked on exchanges and other places that couldn't be touched. That's how I know what it was. Promising that it could do what no one else, not a private company, not even the state intelligence service, could do. Consistently and reliably crack the encrypted communications of an iPhone or Android smartphone or a computer system. So what Pegasus has going for it was, this is a company that produced a software that was for tech support, where they're cracking everybody's stuff so that you could sell a tech support service. And eventually they cracked it to the point where normally when you log into someone's computer system, or you're trying to do something on their computer, you have to have them click on something or have them accept something. That's how computers work. And they figured out a way around that to where you don't have to do anything, and they can watch your computer system. Okay? Watch your computer system. Now, if you're involved in crypto, or you're involved in banking, you're involved in business, you're doing emails, you're doing whatever, they can garner a lot of information. Of course, in here it says that they're not allowed to go after American phone numbers, so they say. Since the NSO had introduced Pegasus to the global market in 2011, over 10 years ago, it helped Mexican authorities capture some dude, some drug lord, who probably works for them, sure. European investigators have quietly used Pegasus to thwart terrorist plots. Whoa, rah rah sis boom ba. Fight organized crime, and in one case, take down a global child abuse ring. Where was that on the news? Which one? You should be able to point to exactly what all these things are with hyperlinks if it was true. Shouldn't you be able to click on the link to know exactly where this software was used and exactly what things they supposedly did with it? Bunch of liars. In a broader sense, NSO's products seem to solve one of the biggest problems facing law enforcement and intelligence agencies in the 21st century, that criminals and terrorists had better technology for encrypting their communications than investigators had to decrypt them. Criminals and terrorists have better technology. How can that be? You mean Bitcoin? Criminals and terrorists had better technology for encrypting their communications. It's just an iPhone, right? It's just a Windows 10 computer. It's just whatever. The criminal world had gone dark even as it was increasingly going global. By the time the company's engineers walked through the door of New Jersey facility in 2019, the many abuses of Pegasus have also been well documented. This one does have a hyperlink. Notice that? All of the supposed white knighting and white hatting, they don't have any hyperlinks for all the things they supposedly did good with this software, but they got a hyperlink to all the stuff where they stole a bunch of people's stuff. Mexico deployed the software not just against gangsters, but against the journalists and political dissidents. United Arab Emirates used the software to hack the phone of a civil rights activist whom the government threw in jail. Saudi Arabia used it against women's rights activists, and according to a lawsuit filed by the Saudi dissident, to spy on communications with Jamal, some guy, a columnist for the Washington Post, whom Saudi operatives killed and dismembered in Istanbul. Well, that ain't very nice. $750 a week is all you need. $750 to get you a 1 week window to go hack anyone's computer that you have the IP address, or anybody's phone that you have the phone number. None of this prevented new customers from approaching the NSO. No, it's a great marketing thing. You don't like somebody, you want to hack their stuff. Including the United States. Oh, wow. The details of the FBI's purchase and testing of Pegasus have never been before made public. This is your public service announcement. It is the New York Times. It is the CIA. It is the New World Order. Public service announcement telling you this stuff is out there. Okay? You can't claim ignorance. The details of the FBI's purchase and testing of Pegasus have never been made public. Additionally, the same year, Khashoggi was killed. Central agency arranged and paid for the government, whatever. They did their stuff. As part of their training, FBI employees bought new smartphones at local stores, set them up with dummy accounts, using SIM cards from other countries. Pegasus was designed to be unable to hack into American numbers. It was designed to be unable to... Oh, American numbers are special. The ones and zeros with the little American flag and the apple pie, they can't be hacked. Come on now. Then Pegasus engineers, as they had in previous demonstrations around the world, opened their interface, entered the number on the phone, and began to attack. Okay. This version of Pegasus was 0-click. Okay, everyone talks about you getting spyware on your computer and getting this and that, and what kind of trash. That's because you clicked on something or you installed something that was bad. This is nothing like that. This is they just watch your computer and take screenshots of everything that happens because you won't even notice it. When somebody takes over your computer and controls your computer, unless you have a really fast internet and a really powerful computer, you will notice that. You will notice when someone is messing around with your stuff. But if they're just viewing your stuff, probably ain't going to notice. Unlike more common hacking software, it did not require users to click on malicious attachment or link. So the Americans monitoring the phones could see no evidence of an ongoing breach. They couldn't see the Pegasus computers connecting to a network of servers around the world, hacking the phone, then connecting back to the equipment of the New Jersey facility, where they could see minutes later was every piece of data stored on the phone as it had unspooled onto large monitors of the Pegasus computers, every email, every photo, every text, every personal contact. They could also see the phone's location and even take control of its camera and microphone. FBI agents using Pegasus could, in theory, almost instantly transform phones around the world into the most powerful surveillance tools everywhere, except in the United States. Except in the United States. Mom and dad and apple pie and 2.5 kids in a house and... where's your mask? Those people who believe that. So the whole thing goes on as to what's going on, and it says that, the FBI now says that you can't do business with this company because it's a threat to national security, blah, 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 right? So the New York Times article is giving you the information that, hey, this is out there and this is what we're doing. But then at the end, it makes the boomers feel safe. That, it's not allowed in America, and the FBI put them on a security watch where no one can go buy that stuff. It's such a bunch of garbage, and people are so gullible and so stupid. Now, I never knew that this stuff had existed. It was only because that all of my stuff was stolen, and I had, very tight security around my ship, and it was a series of coincidences and a series of things that led to my stuff being stolen. It sucks, but it's a learning experience. But I do have to share it. And I do have to thank people out there who have helped me out recently with donations and things like that, because it really helps out. Because the old grocery store doesn't exactly pay $1 million a year, right? I point this out to people is your phones. If you can help it, just stop using your phones. I just found out I use a flip phone, so I don't have to deal with a lot of this stuff. But they still monitor that crap. You accept one, you check your email, or I don't have email on my phone, but you check your voicemail, right? It's plugged in. I unplug it. I check the voicemail. Someone left me a message. And I go, okay. And I close the flip phone and put it on the counter. I come back to it 4 hours later, it's dead. Okay? Who is activating the camera and the microphone to make it die in 4 hours like that? And you all know with smartphones, I'm sure it's a lot worse. And now we've been notified that they're not going to support the flip phones anymore. You have to get an NSA tracking device if you want to keep using Verizon or these other services. So you need an NSA tracker. Don't do crap on your phone. Just use it to talk to people. Now, and as far as your computer system goes, the only thing I can think of is using a VPN, which is like a couple bucks a month or something like that to protect your stuff. But if you're doing finance stuff and anything important, you probably shouldn't do it on a computer that's on the internet, or only hook it up when it needs to do something. Isn't this what Ed Snowden talked about? Something like that. For years, law enforcement and intelligence agencies have been able to intercept and understand communications in transit, but as powerful encryption became widely available, that was no longer the case. Encrypt everything. My stuff was encrypted and they still got me. They could intercept a communication, they could no longer understand what it said. If they could control the device itself, though, they could collect the data before it was encrypted. Communitech had already figured out how to control the devices. All the partners needed was a way to do so without permission. It's theft, among other things, depending on what you're doing. All of these things are wire fraud, felonies, in some cases treason, right? With America spying on its own people, okay, without permission. Talking about the NSO. The American reluctance. Does anyone believe that? The American reluctance to share intelligence was creating other opportunities for the NSO and for Israel. In August 2009, Panama's new president, Ricardo Martinelli, finished off a presidential campaign grounded on the promises of eliminating political corruption tied to persuading U.S. diplomats in the country to give him surveillance equipment to spy on security threats as well as political opponents. We're going to eliminate corruption, so give me all of the spy stuff so I can collect all. I mean, this is the thing of, like the dirty cops who plant evidence so that they can get the arrest, knowing that they don't have the evidence, but they go, well, the guy's a bad guy. He's been arrested for drug dealing. We caught him here, and it's just we don't want him to get off on a technicality, so it's okay to break the rules. It's okay to do that, right? Anybody who's in law enforcement or works for the government knows exactly what I'm talking about. Well, the guy's a dirtbag and he'll get off unless we do something about it, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about. This is what this is. We just got to find something. They're so bad and so evil. We just have to break all the laws in order to find something, or perhaps plant something because there is no interaction a user needs to have with their computer for them to go in and put something there. Such as perhaps a file that flags as a virus. After you've stolen everybody's stuff, you put a file in there that flags as a virus. That's not even a program, so you can cover your tracks. What happened to me? But this idea that it's okay because they're political dissidents, so it's okay to break all the rules and all the laws and all the everything because they're just bad people. The United States, here we go, here's the trumpeting. According to the statement, okay, the United States will not be party to any effort to expand wiretaps to domestic political targets. Okay. The United States will not be party to any effort to expand is the key word here, wiretaps to domestic political targets. So they're acknowledging that they already have a wiretaps in place on everybody that they want. Then they're also saying political targets. So we don't want wiretaps on our Congress people. Political targets. Because it certainly doesn't mean Snowden. It certainly doesn't mean the dude in Sweden, the WikiLeaks guy. Doesn't mean those guys. Wiretap them up. I would call them political targets, but I guess, the United States, they have a different idea. So the whole thing goes through about them trying to sell their software to the United States, and the United States is too apple pie and all this to even get involved with it. We'll go down the bottom. Arguably, the most fruitful alliances made with Pegasus help have been made with those between Israel and its Arab neighbors. Israel first authorized the sale of the system to UAE, something of an olive branch, after Mossad agents poisoned a senior Hamas operative in a Dubai hotel room. It was not the assassination itself that infuriated the crown prince, the de facto whatever. It was much the Israelis had carried out. They killed a guy on their soil, and that was a bad deal. The prince, widely known as MBZ, ordered security ties between Israel and UAE to be severed. In 2013, a way of truce was offered to buy Pegasus. So it's like, hey, we know you're mad. We'll give you this ability to spy on everybody in the world. And they're like, hell yeah, we'll do that. We'll take that. It also lets you know, guys, how far behind governments are, that some private company in Mossad crack this stuff, and everybody's trying to get a hold of it. It's been around for a while, and no one's ever heard of it until now, 10 years later. The Emirates did not hesitate to deploy Pegasus against its domestic enemies. Imagine that. When the vulnerability was made public, apparently they hacked it through Apple Store. Apple pushed out an update to block the vulnerability, but for Mansour, the damage had been done. His car was stolen, his email account was hacked, his location was monitored, his passport was taken from him, $140,000 was stolen from his bank account, he was fired from his job, and strangers beat him on the street several times. You start to believe every move is watched, he said. Your family starts to panic. I have to live with that. In 2018, Mansour was sentenced to 10 years in prison for posts he made on Facebook and Twitter. Sounds like a great place. So that's what this software is used for. To basically wreck people. There isn't anything good being done with this stuff. It's a long thing about how it goes. Here we go. In December 2021, just weeks after NSO landed on American blacklist, well, we're not going to have anything to do with software that can spy on everybody in the world without their knowledge. Anyone believes that? The White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan arrived in Israel for meetings with the Israeli officials about one of Biden's administration's top foreign policy priorities. Come on, Joe. What do you got, Joe? Getting a new nuclear pact with Iran 3 years after President Trump scuttled the original deal. That's your top foreign policy? Does anyone care what's going on in Iran? Why can't Iran have a nuclear power plant? For anyone who doesn't know, nukes don't exist. Nuclear energy is just boiling water. That's what it is. Boiling water. All right. The visit carried a historical weight. In 2012, Sullivan was one of the first to... Oh, jeez. Come on, article. Come on, article. In 2012. We were just at 2021. We got to go back to 2012? Man. Go down here. Okay. This is when corporations start fighting each other because this company is actually hacking applications that are done by corporations like Microsoft, like Apple. And these guys, they're all suing them. And these guys are getting protected by, of course, governments. It's like, good luck with that lawsuit. In October 2019, WhatsApp sued NSO, arguing the NSO tools had exploited a vulnerability in its service to attack approximately 1,400 phones around the world. Well, yeah, but WhatsApp had the vulnerability, so they're at fault, aren't they? That's how it works. Beyond the question of who controls the weapons at stake at the lawsuit is who is responsible for the damages they do. NSO's defense has always been that the company only sells the technology to foreign governments. We just sell it. We don't control what they do with it. What does your software do? Oh, it illegally hacks phones. We just sell the software, though. We don't take any response. Yeah. It has no role in or responsibility for targeting specific individuals. Well, if your primary means of attack is an IP address of a computer or a telephone number, is it just a random telephone number? No, it's from your political enemy. That's who you're targeting. This has long been the standard PR line of weapons manufacturers, whether Raytheon or Remington. Facebook is out to prove that this defense, at least in the NSO's case, is a lie. In its lawsuit, the tech giant argues the NSO was an active participant in some hacks, pointing to evidence that it released some of the computer servers used to attack WhatsApp accounts. Facebook's argument is essentially that without NSO's constant involvement, many of its clients would not be able to aim the gun. Right. But it's never going to go anywhere. I mean... Come on. You notice how it's only a problem when you're using, you attack WhatsApp or you attack Facebook. But if you just attack some dude's number or whatever, nobody cares. Right. the tech giant didn't have the entire picture. What Facebook didn't appear to know was that the attack on the U.S. phone number, far from being an assault by a foreign power, was part of the NSO demonstrations to the FBI. The system NSO designed for American law enforcement agencies to turn on the nation's smartphones into an intelligence goldmine. So, essentially, part of the lawsuit was legally, officially, they're not supposed to attack American computer systems, American phone numbers. And by using WhatsApp and Facebook, they did that. Because there was American users, obviously, American phone numbers. And what the company said was, hey, we did that to demonstrate to the FBI how it would be done. Because the FBI is purchasing this and the CIA has already had this stuff. All this stuff has been around for 10 years. They're just letting you know about it. Okay? There is absolutely no interaction between you and your computer system required for you to get nasty viruses and spyware and garbage on your computer. None. You don't have to click on anything. They can just put it there. So anyways, that's what's out there. And, I've always known about backdoors. Backdoors that basically are built into computer systems, and they're there for your safety, right? And yeah, sure, but they're not exactly hard to close. I mean, the easiest thing you can do is not keep your computer up to date. Windows 11 is out now. Stay on Windows 10 for like 5 more years. Go back to Windows 7. Okay? None of that stuff's going to be able to hit you. All right? There's a lot of things you can do. Number one is get a VPN. If you're doing crypto or you're doing any sort of finance, anything where you're logging into anything important on your computer system, use a VPN. And don't keep your passwords anywhere in your computer system. Write them down on paper. Or create a new Word document. Type out your password, immediately print it, and delete the Word document. Because anything digital is going to get ripped off. It's going to get ripped off, and you're never going to know it. Okay? You're never going to know it. So, that's what I have with that. The world, regardless of what people think, everything is going to go crypto. Okay? And everything is going to go crypto. And what that means now is you have to self-custody private keys and all these sorts of things that are all digital. And the natural thing is to want to have this stuff on your computer and use different software apps and whatever else. And I'm like, the number one thing that the number one income for like North Korea is stealing people's Bitcoin. Okay, that's their main thing. They sold like $4 billion worth of Bitcoin. That's what they do. That's what North Korea does. Right? No one, when the government talks about people who are like, oh, they're laundering money or they're selling drugs and they're taking cryptocurrency. Well, why aren't they bombing North Korea, who's ripping everybody off? For $750 a week using Pegasus is what you can rent it for. I went to the page. I could purchase Pegasus for $750 a week. Why aren't they going after, Russia's been in the news. Russia's big deal is going to hack people too. Israel's big deal is to go into hack people. And they're just about getting cryptocurrency. Why? Because if you steal somebody's bank account card, bank account cards are worthless. It's just fiat. It's ones and zeros. It's not worth anything. It's not an asset. When you're talking about crypto, you're talking about property. You're talking about an actual asset that can't be replaced. Can't be replaced. That's why they want it. And it's going to be pretty much now more than ever because the security for things like crypto and things like that aren't really quite up to par. There isn't really a great way to, because it's digital, right? There isn't a great way to try and integrate a huge amount of security in with something that's also digital, that also has to connect to the internet so the whole thing can run. You know, there is cold storage, wallets, and things like that. But man, people, all of the people who have actual serious money, they just use paper wallets where it's written on a piece of paper. And that's your wallet. And, you know, I don't know. This is more of a public service announcement out to people out there. And these people at the New York Times who want to let you know that, oh, yeah, we've been spying on everything that you do and we can take control of all your stuff at any point in time. And we've been able to do that for the last 12 years. I wonder what finally made them actually come out with the story. Have they finally reached a threshold where, you know, before 2021, it was like $10 million of crypto had been stolen this way. But in 2021, it was like $10 billion of crypto had been stolen. So I think they finally felt bad, or they actually have to do they're getting that karma. They're getting that karma where we're ripping off too many people. We actually have to tell them we have the ability to just look at your computer and whatever you're doing and all your stuff whenever we feel like it. I think that's what it is. Because, yeah, the amount of theft by government has gone up tremendously in the last year. And I think that, you know, the state of the current market and all that is a lot to do with trying to keep the inflation under control and trying to keep the markets under control and all this stuff. It's all going to fail. But I think that's what's going on. Anyways, be careful with your stuff. With that, we're going to be out of here.